Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. The end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history also coincided with the longest wait by a member of Congress to finally being sworn in. Now the new Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva from Arizona yesterday getting sworn in before those final votes. And this was on social media saying our democracy only works when everyone has a voice. This includes the millions of people across the country who have experienced violence, exploitation, including the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse who joined me in the gallery this evening at my swearing in. Let's be joined in right now by the new Congresswoman representing the 7th District in Arizona, Adelita Grijalva. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. And obviously, it was 50 long days from that special election to the swearing in. Why did it take so long?
You'd have to ask Speaker Johnson the actual specific reason. But what we think is connected is the fact that I was the 218 signer to the discharge petition to release the Epstein files. And now that vote is coming to Congress next week, as I understand it. So I think it's really important for us to keep focused on the fact that survivors deserve justice and that everyone who perpetrated a crime deserves to have to deal with their consequences.
And we watched that on the floor unfold as you were being sworn in. Now the 218th signature on this discharge petition around Jeffrey Epstein. Why was it important for you to do that? Why was it important to make that a priority?
Well, you know what's interesting is that as soon as I was told that it became public that I was going to get sworn in, then you sort of heard this like counter argument about, well, she must have said she wouldn't sign the Epstein files and that's why they're going to do it. And I just wanted to be very clear that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And I'm very committed to the fact that we need to have transparency in what's happening in our government. And when you have the President of the United States pulling in representatives who have signed this discharge petition to try to encourage them to pull their names, that's something that the entire country has to know about.
Yeah, and of course, we potentially could know about it as early as next week. We had indications that it might be December, but next week it might be on the table. What types of conversations are you having? What types of conversations amongst the Democratic caucus about this? Because this is very, very fast.
Yeah, I think no one has really indicated that. I think we all thought that Speaker Johnson was going to drag it out into December or beyond. And the fact that we could vote on it as early as next week is a good sign. And I also was very moved by the fact that Representative Massey came directly up to me as soon as I got on the floor and said, I am so happy to have you here. I've been pushing for you to get sworn in. And so it seems that the Republicans who committed to sign to this discharge petition stayed together and united on this issue, and just as it should be. This should not be a partisan issue. Making sure that pedophiles have consequences, legal consequences for their crimes, is something that we should all uniformly be supportive of.
And you mentioned some of the potential pressure on those GOP, those Republican members of the House, as well as they have their signatures on this discharge. Are we anticipating any other tactics from the Trump administration with this vote now very closely on the horizon?
I wouldn't put anything past Trump. I think that he's going to pull out every opportunity he has to try to circumvent justice because he knows that he's going to be implicated based on the 23,000 pages that were let out, that were released yesterday, and that he's a part of all of those. So and that's just like a tip of the iceberg of what is part of these files. And it's important that we have an opportunity as citizens to be able to look through that. And let's remember that Trump himself committed to releasing all of the files on day one if he was elected president. So here we are, November, and we still haven't seen that. And that Trump has done literally everything he can to circumvent this information getting out.
All right, very good. We'll see what happens in terms of that next week. I do want to talk about other subjects with you, Congresswoman, because on the floor yesterday at the swearing in, you spoke both in English and in Spanish, talking about your heritage so very proudly in terms of this. And we've seen what's going on with the immigration policies by this current administration. In terms of that, how you hope to kind of lead, but also how Congress to act. What do you hope comes from this, and how important is that for you?
I think that when we look at, my dad held this position for 22 years, and from the first day he came to Congress, he was pushing for comprehensive immigration reform, and that we have yet to touch on that. That is so critically important when you have an administration that is targeting people that look like me, workers that have an accent, anybody that has dark skin really in our community could be a target for getting pulled over and being questioned about their immigration status. This administration has allowed that to happen, and we have to push back on that, because there is a due process regardless of whether you're a citizen or not. And ICE is just bypassing that and literally kidnapping people off the street. And so as the district that has the 3 points of entry with Mexico and Arizona, so much border community, and so many people that have family and friends on both sides of the border, that the border didn't cross, the border crossed us. We didn't cross the border. And there are a lot of people that feel that way very strongly, especially those that live on the Tohono Nation that is also split by this border. And we have to be able to work collaboratively to make sure that we can have people cross, that there is a legalization process, and that people who, not everyone wants to become citizens of the United States. They just want to be able to come and work here, and that there has to be a refined and improved H-2A process as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Lots to get into with that. My last question, Congresswoman, before I let you go, because you mentioned your father, and he was such a stalwart for some of these progressive ideals. What do you think he would think about in this moment to see you sworn in last night as a member of Congress?
I think he would have been very proud. I just cannot imagine. My mom was in the audience. She's like, and I cannot imagine how much your dad is like laughing about this situation and how proud he is. But that, you know, they were chanting Adelita, which when I grew up in school, many people couldn't say my name. And here we are when I see random strangers are like, can you help me pronounce your name correctly? Because it's so beautiful. I'm like, thank you. And it is really having more representation that looks like the people that live in the communities is so important to see nationally. So I had young ladies that are here with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, and we had a little open house, and they were all teary because they were so happy to have someone that looked like them in these spaces. So I'm very proud of that, and that's why I keep saying I might be the first Latina from Arizona to represent Arizona in Congress, but I will not be the last.
Yeah, you certainly echoed that. You're obviously your mother there, but also your children in the audience must have been such a special moment for you as well. All right, Congresswoman, I know you are busy. The House now back in session, so much on the docket. Thank you so much for making time. We appreciate you here on Live Now.
Thank you.